Premier League has come back around now. It is a week early this year, so Star Sports is a week earlier than normal. What with the World Cup and all of that? And I, Johnny Ward, am joined by Kit Gilmore to preview what, to be fair, is a fascinating Premier League. Lots of different angles into what will finish in the top four. The predictable ones as to who'll get relegated, who's going to get sacked first is an interest in the managerial markets. Who'll win the league? And should Alf-Inge Haaland be even short? Should Alf-Inge Haaland, listen, show my age here, kid. Should Erling Haaland be shorter than the price he is to finish top scorer? How are you, Kit?
I'm well, thanks, Johnny. How are you doing today?
Who is your team, actually?
My team are not in the Premier League, incidentally. They are Preston North End.
So Preston North End have signed Troy Parrott on loan. They're basically the team everyone in Ireland wants to win nowadays.
Yes, and also the understated Robbie Brady, another Irishman. So we're flush at the moment with the Irish.
What's the story with you? Looking forward to the Premier League? It's slightly different this season. What with this madness that is the Winter World Cup?
Yeah, that's a bit of an unprecedented scenario. So we'll have to see what happens there. It's tough to say how that will impact the markets in terms of the prices. I certainly believe that the match before the teams go off the World Cup will be very, very interesting. So, but it's hard to build that into the prices just yet. Okay,
so on Trader Chat today, we're just going to look at the liabilities first of all. So what's been the main kind of market mover in terms of start the season? You always have some springer. I think it might even have been West Ham last season was the team that's which wasn't a bad shout in the end. They actually did very well. What's the springer this season? I'm not 100% sure it's a two-horse race. Others may disagree, but how has the betting been?
Yeah, it's we've seen plenty on the outrights. In terms of the main mover, it would have been Spurs so far. A few shrewd pieces of business in the transfer market, and some of the clips and such coming out on social media showing Antonio Conte's grueling preseason workouts leave people potentially with the belief that members of the team such as Kane and Son are in better physical condition than ever. So we've seen quite a lot of them. They're our main loser at the moment. Like you said, last year West Ham, I don't know whether the West Ham fans are particularly optimistic, but we've seen a bit for them as well. So they're a loser in our book also.
What do you make of Spurs, actually? That's the interesting one. So, like, Conte's had a good goal at this time. The players are coming in fresher, maybe from the off season. We'll speak about Kane for the top scorer as well. But what do you make of Spurs? Outright at the moment, Spurs are in at 14-1, and you can back them a third for two places.
Yeah, big fan of Antonio Conte. I think he's got a very efficient process, very set structure. Knows what he wants and has delivered almost everywhere previously, so can see why they like him. But obviously at 14-1, the market still does suggest that they're a big outside of Liverpool and City. But as you say, Johnny, as an each way poke could be a bit value.
Yeah, and we have, before we get to the player related markets, these season handicaps and season Premier League goals handicaps. You know, a lot of people will effectively think City will win the league. If they don't, Liverpool will. I'm not interested in that market. Although if you are, you can back Liverpool at 9-4 each way. But the season points and season Premier League goals handicap market kit are interesting. It's basically 14s a field in both.
Yeah, every team is the same price at 14-1, but the line, the amount of points or goals they're given as a head start varies. The key one that we've seen, people fancying Arsenal this season, potentially off the back of a bit of pre-season form and a couple of signings that Arteta knows well, and Jesus and Zinchenko. Arsenal being given 25 points this season, and they are the team that we've seen the most on so far. Alternatively, Manchester United, 23-point head start has generated interest also.
And a couple of mentions just for the top four finish. 13-8 Arsenal looks interesting. Top six finish 5-1 Leicester, who just seem to have been written off, and maybe this will bring us to the first manager to go as well, because some people kind of already feeling Brendan Rodgers might be under a little bit of pressure. This is a 9-2 the field market after the 5th of August.
Yes, after the 5th of August, you say. Tricky with Brendan Rodgers. I mean, he's currently the 5th in our market, 11-1. Jesse Marsh has that one up. I think the sentiment with Marsh maybe is that he's not quite as popular among the fan section as he could be. Did, however, keep them up, and it has good credentials as a manager. previously with Leipzig, who don't really hire bad managers, and might have bought himself a bit more time with the relegation thing. The key one, I think, is Lampard at 5-1 could be a very good bet, because he, let's not forget how close they diced with relegation last season. They've lost some key players. I don't think Lampard is that proven as a manager. In fact, quite the opposite. Everton in some financial struggles with some of the issues with the hierarchy, and if they start struggling again, it's primed for Lampard to be turned over in order to fight relegation battle.
Yeah, and one of Everton's former managers, Marco Silva, as well, he's one to keep an eye on that market. You've got to be conscious of the fact that effectively, statistically, the struggling teams will sack their managers this season. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. What sort of other liabilities have we in terms of goal scorers, relegation, and you obviously have all these other anti-post markets as well that you can peruse on the Star Sports website, including who will get relegated?
Yeah, I mean, Bournemouth are quite short for relegation this season, a key favourite. I don't think their price has generated that much interest at 8-15. People seem to quite like Forest, actually. I thought that they might struggle a little bit this season, but the punters seem to have been quite impressed with their signings and such. Haven't seen too much as far as relegation goes. I think people might be waiting a little bit just to see how the teams turn out. Wait maybe a week or two. In terms of goal scorers, again, the Arsenal fans out in full force. Gabriel Jesus hugely backed for the top goal scorer market, but also, as you mentioned, Johnny, one of the unique markets we have is the goal scorer handicap markets. We've run up a decent liability on Jesus there. We initially gave him 9 goals on the scratch there, which is Haaland. At 14s, obviously, and saw quite a lot to the extent whereby we moved his line to +7 at 14-1. We still managed to generate interest with that.
I think this is the most intriguing market practically of the lot. So you've Cristiano Ronaldo's only the same price as Gabriel Jesus. He's in at 12s. Darwin Núñez in at 14s. There's obviously the question mark about what Liverpool's first 3 will be, but I did a radio slot with David Connolly, the former Ireland striker, this morning, Kit. He reckons Haaland is, if not a certainty, he reckons he can't see beyond him at all finishing top scorer. Top price on the market, 11-4. Top price across any firms, 11-4, that is, and that's available with Star Sports. How do you see it? Because in theory, Man City have lacked a 9, Jesus being one of them. Now they have a number 9 in Haaland. He gets all the goals. I'm not so sure.
Yes, I think I would echo that sentiment. Haaland, I think the question mark surrounds in what scenario he's going to be. Have they brought him in to play the bigger matches, which is the Champions League? Have they brought him in to win that tournament? Or have they brought him in to win games that are already winnable for them against teams lower down the table? So it's tricky. If you were to say that Haaland might only start 3/4 of the match, would he still be the same price? What are the underlying assumptions in this market? We haven't seen much on Haaland. I think that's of interest. Like I say, Jesus was very well backed. Harry Kane, interestingly, is the one I'd be looking at. He's quite a decent price as far as an each way bet's concerned, 6-1, and you can get 4 plays there. Like I said previously, Conte's probably got him in some fantastic shape. August is always a bit of a tricky one with Kane, so you probably know fairly soon whether he's firing or not. But yeah, I'd be backing him to link up with Son really well this season.
If you wait to the end, you get a selection from both Kit and I. I have a 9-2 shot anti-post. But before that, we have a couple of specials as well for Star Sports. Punters, notably Too Good.
Too Good, of course, a promotion we ran last season. We're going to continue it through this season on every Premier League match, whereby if your team goes 2 goals ahead, we'll pay you out as a winner regardless of if they end up drawing or losing. Which
may or may not happen in Friday night's game. This is the season opener. And in fairness, this has so many layers to it. Obviously, Vieira against his former club. Arsenal, potential dark horses at a fancy price with the signings they've made. And remember, they lost the first 3 games last season. Thereafter, they really clicked into form. I think they've a great chance finishing the top 4. Fascinating season opener, Kit. Palace v Arsenal.
Great season opener, I have to say. Vieira with his obvious links to Arsenal. The games
Most
last season.
atmospheric ground in the Premier League as well, maybe?
I believe in decibel levels, that's true. So yeah, big fan of Palace, like everything they do. Be a very interesting match to see the extent to which they struggle without Gallagher, but they do have Eze back. So that'll be very interesting. Arsenal 4-5 with us. Personally, think that's a little bit short. They were going off very short prices away from home quite a lot of last season. Arsenal, there is the suggestion that they've improved, which I do believe they have. Quite like Arteta, but I still think there's a lot to do with that Arsenal team. Palace, a bit more structured. Vieira's got them playing quite well. Quite like both of these teams' summer transfer signings. But yes, I think I would be looking to oppose Arsenal probably in that match, much to the chagrin of my friends.
16-5 the host, 13-5 the draw, and 4-5 the Gunners get off to win and start. And obviously, it's fairly obvious thing to say, but keep an eye out for the opening sort of 4 or 5 rounds of games. If you're looking to maybe look into a trading position, or if you're looking for a manager to be under pressure straight away, because you can have a pretty soft start. Before we finish up and get a selection from both of us, what are your prospects for Preston this season? They've obviously signed a player we have a lot of time for in Troy Parrott. I think if they have a proper goal scorer, they can't be far off the playoffs.
Well, in terms of the outright betting, they're sort of seen to be a fair way off the playoffs, which is, I think, a little bit unjust, actually. We've gone quite well for the past 3 or 4 seasons, narrowly missing out on the playoffs, narrowly missing out on the top half. We changed the manager to Ryan Lowe sort of midway through last season, and he did a great job at Plymouth previously. We brought in, there's a sort of link between him and Gerrard a little bit, so we sometimes get some Villa players. This season, however, for probably the most optimistic style of transfer strategy we've seen. Previously, it was very small purchases from lower down the leagues, whereas now we're going for Premier League experience with players like Ben Woodburn from Liverpool and such. And
5-1 top 6.
I know it's incredible. I've been all. I mean, we were sort of 7-4 in places for a top 12 finish, which I was amazed at. First day of the season away at Wigan, 0-0 draw. Thought we created some good chances. Got a red card at the end, but we'll take it nonetheless. I think 1 point away in the first game, and I'm very hopeful this season. Yeah.
Okay, so you got Kit's hopes for Preston. I definitely think that's the Championship's a market well worth looking at as well. From an Irish perspective, Championship and League One is where we're kind of focusing most of our interest. I'm going to walk like an Egyptian here. 9-2 Mohamed Salah to be the top scorer. Obviously been there, done that. I'm just not sure about Haaland. And he's making the price for Salah here. I still think he's going to get the bulk of Liverpool's goals. The key with Salah for me is he tails off a bit at the end of the season because his legs slightly start to go. He's had a decent little break in this off-season. I think he'll blaze a trail. Was very good in the game at the weekend as well. What's your selection, Kit? I'll
be going for Harry Kane each way, 6-1 with 4 places, a quarter of the odds. He's always sitting around there, Kid. He always will get you goals. Be very interesting to see how he starts the season. He's gradually been sort of trying to get out of his cursed August that he's experienced for quite a long time now. With Conte, the structured side, the signings that Conte wants, he's probably a little bit happier than he was this time last season.
Well, he was a non-trier for much of the previous regime, to be fair,
yes,
in my view.
Yeah. Well, previous regimes, not only at Spurs, nonetheless. But yeah, Kane each way, I think is a fantastic bet, personally.
Fantastic bet. So we've given you 2 of the top 3, I think, in the goal scorers market. But 9-2 and 6 is coupled is a winner chicken dinner. Hopefully, thanks a million for your time, Kit.
No worries, thanks, Johnny.
That was Kit Gilmore on the Star Sports Trader Chat. It's going to be a hell of a campaign. Manchester City are odds on. Liverpool chasing them. Is there value elsewhere? Check out the website for all the offers. We shall talk to you soon.